Hey, how are you doing?
Hey,
This is
Hey.
Scott Churchson. This is also Mr. Robert Leckington and Mr. Ryan O'Regan. And this is Tales from the Film Set. And you know what? Welcome to Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV Channel 250. Kindly remember to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android devices. When you download, though, do make sure to rate and leave a comment because both apps are free. And Zingo TV actually is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and any smart TV 2016 and forward. So you know what? If you have technology, you can have Zingo. So, gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fine, man. I've had myself a couple of candy bars and some Pepsi. I'm ready to go. So,
So it's going to be one of those things that you're going to be talking a little bit faster. You're going to be really
yeah,
hyper.
it's whatever.
Yeah,
That'll be me eventually.
that's me now. Yeah. All right, so we got a ton of good stuff that we got to talk about
Well,
tonight.
wait. Red.
I have to go.
All right, that was Ryan O'Regan, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Yeah,
for
no,
coming.
it'll be brief. It'll be brief. I'll be right back.
Yes. No, he's got a delivery at the front door. So you know what? So all right. So Rob, good talking to you. Now that Ryan left, we can talk about him behind his back.
Definitely.
Don't say that we talked about this though. I don't want to find out. But like I said, we got a bunch of stuff that we're going to be covering tonight. The latest James Bond movie is not doing well in the box office, so we've got some thoughts and ideas on that. Another Scream trailer. And more importantly, the movie of the year, the thing that everybody in society has been begging for, clamoring for, and begged society in Hollywood to have. Home Alone 6. So we're going to be talking Home Sweet Home Alone. To its credit, I do kind of dig that title. I got to give it the respect where it's due. But we're going to be talking about that. And yeah, that's going to be basically it for tonight. If we got a little extra time, we're probably going to be also doing a little bit of What If Weekly. About actors and actresses who turned down roles or could have ended up in roles that iconically went elsewhere. As always, you can find us on Instagram and also on Facebook at Tales from the Film Set and on Twitter at Film Set Tales. So anyway, Mr. Leckington, let's start off with you, sir. How's it going, man?
Everything's going. I made my way out to Comic-Con this last week and had a really good time and saw some really interesting stuff. And yeah, it was like my first Comic-Con. I'd never been to one before, and seeing all the cosplayers and oh man, it was. They had a lot of people that were dressed up. That was
here's the funny thing about geek culture. Growing up in the 80s and the early 90s, you go to a Star Trek convention, people find out about it, they beat the crap out of it. Now you go to it and people are like, you didn't dress up? What the hell's wrong with you?
Right.
Like I said, when I went to anime conventions and Star Trek conventions back in 1992, people would literally basically just ridicule me for being involved, watching anime. Now people are like,
yeah, it's hot stuff.
You only watch Naruto and One Piece? I mean, hello, have you seen nothing else?
Exactly. How about you, Ryan? You ever been to a Comic-Con yet?
Oh yeah, quite a few.
You okay over there? All right. So anyway, we're going to talk. Basically, Orion's basically trying to hustle back to get back on the show. Appreciate that.
Well, point of contention. I should learn not to do this while I live on the second story of a building.
Oh wow, man! You all right?
Walk-ups are bad. Actually, it's funny to tell me.
But yes, to answer your question, yes, I have been to at least New York Comic-Con. Although here in Jersey, we actually do have a couple of other ones. Not really like Comic-Con per se, but you have the Monster Manias, the Chiller Theaters, the one down in AC. A lot of conventions where people go ahead and embrace at least horror cinema, if not like alternative, like fantasy and sci-fi too. So there's always something going on. At least there usually was something going on, if not
even the adult one over there in Edison off of
yes, there is that too, which I have a long history with. Professionally, I should add, I've gone there and interviewed many talent for various
I'm just going as press to basically just take pictures.
Your poor name is
the first movie I ever did. I shot some of it at Exotica, so I have a couple of well-known starlets starring in my film.
Nice.
His name is Reagan Edison or something.
His poor name, yeah.
I'm actually correction. Oh, Reagan.
Right, but it's funny because I see it coming back this year, and I notice I'm not recognizing anybody I know except for maybe like one or two names from when I was last there. That's how quickly the cycle of that industry
Well,
goes.
you age out when you hit 25, and suddenly, I guess you're too old for porn. I guess.
Right.
Right.
But I find it really weird. It's on gigantic billboards on Route 80.
Yeah,
Three-year-old kid is like, "Mommy, what's that?"
exactly. She's
Well,
looking kind of hot.
We're
but,
gonna learn
you
some
know,
stuff today, kid.
yeah.
But I guarantee, I almost wonder, basically, if parents like bring their kids to these things, do they? If little
Do
Timmy,
they?
like 8-year-old Timmy's like, where are you going? I'm going to Exotica this weekend.
Well, to be honest, I wish I could have gone to New York Comic Con this year because apparently they got to see the entirety of Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes, they did.
The panel there. I was like, they actually showed the whole movie.
Movie.
Not
Wow.
not like a snippet, not like the first 30 minutes.
What
The
day was
whole
that?
thing.
What
That
day
is
was that?
unheard of.
What-
The
But I
early
guess
reviews-
because it's the first one really back since COVID, they wanted to really blow it out.
Yeah. What day was that? What night was that?
Oh, I guess that was Saturday night, I
Okay.
imagine. But
Well, here's my thing. So far, the early reviews are mostly positive, like mixed to like generally positive. I'm
yeah,
curious.
I'm
I
hearing
wasn't-
lighthearted. The one girl, McKenna, who's pretty much playing the lead next to Finn Wolfhard. I'm hearing nothing but praise for her. Like she practically leads the film. So that's good to hear that this is something that when you think about the original Ghostbusters and how it was almost like an R-rated comedy to a
Mhm.
certain extent, even though it wasn't, but it was pretty much there.
There were some scenes I didn't see till I was older.
Yeah,
Like Sigourney Weaver.
anything with
and her,
a Ray and a ghost in his bedroom, we all know
Yeah,
that.
when the ghost undoes his belt. I didn't remember seeing that one when I was 9.
But I mean, when you think about where it started and like where it is now, where you basically do have this almost wholesomeness and fantastic nature to the whole franchise, and considering how many people bombed on 2016's Ghostbusters, which debate whether or not you wanted to. I personally loved Leslie Jones in it, but
that was the one with Christine Wiig.
yes.
Kristen
It
Wiig.
was okay, but I think the problem was, and I struggled with this too, is you're so naturally inclined to compare it to the previous ones that you struggle to see it as its own independent movie. I did the best I could in that arena, so it wasn't bad. But you still think Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, and Dan Aykroyd versus Leslie Jones, Kate McKinnon, and the rest of them, Kristen Wiig, and Melissa McCarthy.
Right.
But like I said, for me, I struggle with that with any reboot to not compare it to the original.
Well, I'm sure that's pretty much with everybody, really.
Yeah.
I mean, when you like, let's just say that they're going to come out with the first Commando, they're going to redo the first Commando. I mean,
Are they doing their first Commando?
I don't think so, but I would assume that if they did, that a lot of people would be like, okay, well, if Arnold Schwarzenegger is not in it, and they got somebody like, say, Dwayne The Rock Johnson or somebody.
That would be a
doing
proper choice.
it. I mean,
The Rock or John Cena in a reboot of Commando. I think those are your two choices. What
Well-
wrestler turned actor will work in that role?
The
exactly.
Miz. Once he's done with Dancing with the Stars.
But you couldn't help but compare it with the original.
Yes.
That's my point anyway.
Yeah, but I think there's a little bit of a difference there because something like Commando, regardless of Schwarzenegger in the role, is almost generic action, like generic 80s action. You really don't think about too many lines or scenes that really stand out as being favorable or memorable, like compared to something like
also speed,
Ghostbusters,
baby.
where there are people that recite the entire script offhand if you
Well,
need to.
Hey, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
New
fans out
Jersey
there.
has like an actual Ghostbusters fan group where they actually dress up, cosplay,
Wow.
and go to like hospitals and stuff and hang out with the kids, which I think is really, really cool.
I'll be the
I'm actually
Stay Puft
considering doing
Marshmallow guy.
But I mean, if they redid Commando, again, it's that Commando. I think Nostalgia Critic summed it up best. That is the movie that both best personifies and personifies the best and worst that Arnold Schwarzenegger has to offer. And I think that's pretty accurate. It's all the '80s tropes, it's all the one-liners, but all like the really bad scenes that make it terrible.
It made
Yeah,
him
but it's also one of
famous,
those
you
things
know?
where it's like if you look at any action movie that you could probably find on Amazon Prime or Netflix or Hulu when they came out, if it's generic enough, it's probably a Commando-esque type movie.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those movies, even like a lot of Arnold's other movies or Stallone's other movies.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
like
heck, Die Hard 2.
Commando. I always confused with Collateral Damage. If it wasn't for the aging,
Well, yeah, Collateral Damage was basically Arnold, basically Commando, but he didn't kill people.
right?
He was a fireman this time.
Just the sound of him saying Collateral Damage.
I don't remember. I remember seeing it in theaters, but I don't remember much about that.
Yeah.
That was when he was trying to get back. Oh, he was trying to get away from like the comedy stuff, like Jingle All the Way and
Right.
put that cookie down now,
Yeah. Get in a chopper.
Turbo Man. But yeah, we're gonna, like I said, we got a few things we're gonna talk about. I know Ryan, you wanted to kind of lead a little bit with what's going on with Daniel Craig's latest movie, his last Bond movie, and the fact that it's honestly not pulling a lot of coin in.
Well, I mean, as far as American audiences go, apparently it's not really hitting us. Now, obviously, it was released like weeks ago worldwide, so we're like the last ones almost to see it, or maybe close to the last ones to see it.
Ironically,
But apparently it was getting plenty of praise. Already made about 300 million worldwide before it even reached us.
Mhm.
And people were saying that it was going to be like the first movie to actually open at 100 million, that it was going to surpass what Venom 2 had done in its opening weekend. And it didn't even make 60.
Wow.
And mind you, this was one of those ones where it wasn't like, oh, well, I got to see it on Paramount Plus or I got to see it on
Mhm.
Amazon as well as in the theaters. No, this was a theater exclusive.
Right.
well,
And it only made that much.
I'm looking at
and
the
this
numbers right now. This is on Wikipedia, so it's probably close up to date. Box office right now is 321 million. Budget 250 to 301. Now, typically, you need to do double the budget to break even.
Well, the thing is, the budget wasn't even that bad when it was originally supposed to be coming out back in April of last year. It was pretty much the first, I would say, the first big budget movie that got hit by
Mhm.
COVID.
Well,
Got
and it's
derailed
still being-
because it
it's
was
still
supposed to
being-
open that April, and
Yeah.
we would just starting to get into the thick of it.
Sure. I mean, it's still being hit. I mean, if it's not opening, I mean, for the most part, if it being with it being like an exclusive cinema release, I mean, people were expecting, like even with the Sopranos film, it was streamed as well as went out in the films or in the
I don't think they think that thing made like $15.
Well, again, that's more for like a niche audience, all right.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
if you're one of
Well,
those people that watch The Sopranos, then you will watch the movie. If you never
Well,
watched The Sopranos before,
I was just making the correlation of the
Yeah.
fact that, like, if it was being streamed at the same time as being in the theaters, that could have been a different story because a lot of people are still scared to go out and be in the public. I mean, at least that's my own
I think
perception.
that's a solid answer. I know a lot of people like that. Also, I have to wonder if now at this point that we've been homebound for a year, excuse me, and got used to it, I wonder if maybe that's part of it too. That people are, and you disagree with me, please. Let me know if you think otherwise. But that people, I think, are more inclined to stay back and not go out because they're just comfortable.
right,
You know,
and
you
you
get
could do
trained to
that
become-
with this movie because let's face it, if anyone is savvy enough, they already heard how the movie's ending long before the movie came out because
on
of the
Wikipedia.
premieres worldwide.
Yeah, that's true.
It got spoiled whether or not it wanted to be spoiled.
Yeah,
So I mean, it's not one of those things where it's like it's only coming out here and across the world at that day, and nobody knows what's going on unless you worked on the thing.
right.
I mean,
So-
I'm looking at right now the box office for Many Saints of Newark is at 10.3 million.
Right.
So
Well,
it's
yeah.
not
I
so
mean,
much.
you really can't compare the two. I mean, because with James Bond being a big budget film and everything, I mean,
And this being a Sopranos sequel.
yeah, no, well,
Which
but not
Sopranos
just
kind of
that.
always anyway.
not just that though. I mean, it's a niche audience, so it more or less is going to get that particular, crowd versus
Mhm.
with a James Bond movie. I mean, that's big over the top. They were
Sure.
expecting to at least get, what is it, like over 100 million probably just within the first weekend here
Mhm.
in the United States. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be differences. We're talking independent versus big budget.
Which
But I was-
even then the budget wasn't as big had they not had to go ahead and push it back as many times as they did.
Mhm.
This is a movie that you could have had out earlier this year, but for one reason or another, they decided to smack it right here in October.
Yeah.
And then you could have easily had it during over the summer and it probably would have
Sure.
fared better.
Definitely.
This could have been like
Probably
the Tenant of 2021, where it was like
Well-
the first real big thing that you should go to the theaters for.
But even
Instead,
then,
we got Jungle Cruise. You know,
but even then, though, I mean, if you want, like you said, you were talking about the fact that, like, it was worldwide before it came here, so basically it got spoiled. If you want to like get the opening, you want to more or less, be in theaters all, even in the United States, around the world at the same time.
right? Like I'm seeing reviews for it whenever they got to review it online, but even just today, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the show Pitch Meeting
Mhm.
by the Screen Rant network on YouTube. They went ahead and did the pitch meeting for No Time to Die. I mean, that's usually something that they reserve for a movie that's been out at least a while, so this way the spoilers aren't too heavy. But you're gonna if they're doing it the opening weekend, it comes in America. That means, yeah, it is what it is at this point.
Right.
You know, the surprise is gone, the thrill is gone. It's
Mhm.
Bond is
Thrill
no
is
more. We
gone.
know what's up, so we have to wait. And now they're not even going to discuss about recasting him until next year.
Mhm.
So all the debates for that's going to be a moot point too. So at this point, just have to think that James Bond is one of those franchises that maybe has just kind of like run its course,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's a shame because there's really not very few other franchises like it.
Hey, it's a 60-year run. That's not bad.
That and Doctor Who, man, I'm telling you.
Yeah. Which basically, I'm starting to see the previews for the new season. BBC is starting to drop little bits here and there, but but this new season's only going to be 8 episodes too. So they got that part cut back big time.
Right, but it's also that final season for them. So
But then they're going to do one finale movie, I think, in 2023.
Hmm.
And then it's going to be the end of Jodie Whittaker's run permanently. Unless they
yeah, and
decide
then
to
they're
bring
bringing
her
back the one from the Tenant years.
Well, they're talking about that too. But I'm sorry. Who are you talking about?
The showrunner, Russell T. Davies.
Russell T. Davies is coming back for the new run of it.
So it's going to get weird again, folks. It's going to be so weird.
It's going to be curious
Oh
to
my
see what
God.
happens, especially with the ratings. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. But speaking of British people, we have to discuss a new trailer that dropped. I'm going to post the picture over to Eduardo. For those that are unaware, like I said, the movie that we have been waiting for, begging for, pleading for years, we've said we needed to have another one.
The sad thing is, I know where he's going with this. And
Home Alone 6. Or this time around, Home Sweet Home Alone.
Oh boy.
You've seen that in just a tick there.
can we blow that up a little bit?
We're working on that. He's working on it.
Real
Right now.
detailed.
Yeah. So a lot of let's say we've got Rob Delaney in there. I know Chris Parnell is in this too. But what really blows my mind is the person on the top right. That's Ellie Kemper. She did 5 seasons of The Office. She was Kimmy Schmidt in the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt movie. And I'm really surprised that she did this one. I mean, it's kind of in her like safe wheelhouse because all of her characters are always just lighter, fluffier, and this movie's in that genre. But I was really kind of surprised when I found out that she was playing one of the villains in Home Alone 6. Or, sorry, Home Sweet Home Alone.
Hey, is that JT down there in the bottom left?
That's actually Buzz. Buzz
Dude, no, that's cruel. He's not even here to defend himself.
I know.
No. I mean, it looks
It's
exactly.
kind of like Mike. Well, see, I was going to say it looks like Mike Houston from Orange Is the New Black, played Dixon. But you know what? Maybe we should get JT Stetson for the show. I think that would work.
There you go.
But no, that's the guy who played Buzz from the first 2 movies.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like a soft reboot, but it's also still a continuation of the original timeline.
So just to clarify, if I understand the plot correctly, the parents go away on a vacation at Christmas, and they inadvertently leave their son behind. Is that how this Home Alone movie is going to be?
You know exactly how it's supposed to be.
I've
course I know.
heard, I hear things, but yeah, that's something. Yeah, I hear that's the way the story goes.
But things are amiss when 2 burglars break into the house, and it's up to young Kevin or British Kevin McCall. I don't even know what the kid's name is in this one. He's British this time. That's all I know. But yeah, it's up to him to stop them from actually breaking in and save the day, et cetera, et cetera.
First
Oh.
off, he's not even called Kevin. He's called Max.
Oh, is it Max this time? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yes. And he's played by Archie Yates, which if you happen to see Jojo Rabbit, he played Hoagie in that.
Oh, yeah.
He was
Okay, now I
adorable.
know. Now I remember that. Okay, yes, yes.
So I take it that this is being shot in the UK then.
I don't know if it's being shot in the UK, but there is a good amount of like UK oriented actors that are working on
Yeah.
this. But then again, there's also a good amount of like SNL alumni that's working
Okay.
on this as
Right,
well.
right, like Chris Parnell.
Yeah, Keenan Thompson is also.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know Mikey Day's in it, and he's one of the writers on the film.
Okay.
So yeah, you have Keenan. Yeah, you have Pete Holmes as the dad. You have Ainsley B as the mother. I personally like that. It's a well-rounded, strong comedic cast.
Mm.
So that gives me encouragement that it's not just going to go ahead and be like necessarily going through the numbers. Even though, yes, if you look at the trailer, they steal so many of the lines from the original movie. It's like it almost clicks in that little part of the back of the brain that's nostalgic.
I mean, my take is I think it's kid safe. It's going to Disney Plus. It's not even going to theaters, so it's not. I mean, the kids I think will like it. That's the aspect of it that they're going for. So I don't really see much harm in something like this. But a lot of the old farts like myself are like, oh my God, 6 now. I mean, they did Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, but then 3, 4, and 5 were all basically kid X is left alone and has to basically stop bandits Y and Z from breaking into the house.
Right.
Yeah, there was a lack of heart really to it. At that point, it was going like paint by numbers.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it. I mean, you gotta put out what works, man. And if that was working at the time.
That's one.
Yeah,
of those
but when
things
the third one didn't work in theaters, that doesn't mean continue
Hey,
on.
well,
at home
hey,
video.
come on now.
Hey,
I
that
mean,
guy directed the Smurfs too. Okay, Riley Trujillo. I met that guy actually on the Smurfs.
Actually, who's directing this one? This one is
I saw the name, but
Dan Mazer. So he's
by
worked.
the way,
He's worked on Borat. He was one of the writers on Borat and Borat's sequel.
he
He
did.
was a
He
writer
went
on
from
Ali
Borat
G.
to
So he's worked
this.
with Sacha Baron Cohen pretty much.
I was going to say this is kind of a different personality trait than Borat movies. He also wrote for Dialogy, so he's basically been working with everything in Sacha Cohen.
Right, but again, that's that British influence. So that's why I feel like the humor is probably going to be skewed similar to at least in the slapstick range.
Yeah.
But I like to think that they'll probably improve upon some of the dialogue that we got in the first movie, which at this point feels probably very dated.
Yeah, he did Who Is America. He also did Bruno. So so basically 80% of this guy's directorial resume writer resume is Borat stuff or is Sacha Cohen, Baron Cohen stuff.
Yeah, who himself is a genius. Regardless of how you feel about his comedy, the man creates some stuff that would like blow your mind if it actually saw it on paper.
I wasn't big on Borat, but I do like his style outside of the Borat character.
I am French.
To this day, I still think Kazakhstan, greatest country in the world. But
I wouldn't be surprised if Sacha Baron Cohen maybe makes a cameo in the movie at some point. Who knows?
Well,
that would be ideal.
Culkin makes a cameo.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Macaulay Culkin, man.
Let it be Buzz's police chief.
Right?
There you
Oh
go.
God, would that be ironic? Well, I mean, I don't know. What about Catherine O'Hara? The mom. Her stock's pretty high after 6 seasons of Schitt's Creek. The show, by the way.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I think actually by the legal definition, I can't actually say it out loud. Thank you, you know that. Yeah, without actually the text at the bottom. So here's what we're going to do. They put that right there. So when her stock was higher when she did Schitt's Creek. Like I said, that's how you actually do it. You have to actually put it up on screen. Per the producers and lawyers on Tonight Show, I believe. So anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did that with a lot of the original cast in this case. I mean, John Hurd, like you said, did pass away a few years ago.
Right.
But I mean, Catherine O'Hara, Macaulay Culkin,
Joe Pesci.
Well, yeah, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern.
Pesci's kind of half.
Watch one of them end up being like the father to either Rob Delaney or
dun dun dun.
to Rob Delaney or Ellie Kemper. Watch them be like the patriarch to whatever they're going to call themselves in this movie.
Well, Daniel Stern's character technically was in Home Alone 4,
Okay.
played by French Stewart.
I didn't catch that one personally.
I don't think anybody caught that one. That's why.
But yeah, basically alongside him was Missy Pyle, who's an underrated, character actor, but will never, I don't think really will ever break like number 5 on the call sheet. But she's not hurting, as far as success goes.
No, but if you need a quirky female actress to round out a comedic cast, she's a nice fit. I love her.
My God, she's great for that. I loved her in Galaxy Quest, and also Bringing Down the House.
Oh, that's right. She was one of the aliens.
She was the one that made out with Tony Shalhoub at the end of the movie.
Right.
Oh, that's not right. But yeah, that was the 4th one. The 5th one had a girl and also had Ed Asner in it, which I thought was curious.
Oh wow, yeah. That's
May he rest.
Yeah, I know, right? And then of course this one with Ellie Kemper and Dr. Spaceman from 30 Rock, or Cyril Figgis from Archer, whichever you prefer.
That broke my heart this last week.
I haven't seen the latest episode. It's on my DVR right now. Did they give a tribute to Jessica Walter?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, I knew that was coming.
But they did it in like the best way possible, all things considered.
All right. Basically, you can spoil it for me. It's all right to a point. Did they do it in the episode, or it wasn't just a credit then, right?
Oh no, it was the episode.
Okay, so that's
like the entire season finale. It's like in the wake of whatever happens in the episode and its consequences leading into the next season.
Got it. Yeah, because watching this season, I just kept looking at it and knowing that she had already passed away after doing these episodes, and it kind of had this melancholy feel. Listening to to that character, as great as she was, Mallory Archer was a fantastic character. Jessica Walter nailed it so well that it was just a kind of a melancholy feeling. It's sort of like, oh God, I'm drawing a blank. When the butler died, the actor who voiced him in Archer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
but I don't think they gave him as much fanfare.
Yeah. But I think it was also one of those things that it feels a little saddened when you lose somebody and you watch an episode like that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And it's one, especially when it's like not just a character on the show, but it's like a parental figure on the show. Because then I think, regardless of how you feel about the character and how they interact with the rest, there's always going to be like that internal feeling. It's like a parent just died.
Yeah.
So that's going to be like, damn, I should care.
And like I said, I remember her from Dinosaurs. The show from the early. She was the mom.
Oh yeah.
She was the mom on the early '90s Disney's Dinosaurs. And obviously Arrested Development was the other big one too. Where she kind of played the same sort of character.
Yeah, no. She's if you needed a mom character, that was maybe questionable.
Yeah, she was, like I said, she was dynamite on that. But
it actually makes me wonder, what will they do if they decide to do another season of Arrested Development? Because that's something that they always seem to end up doing a season of or not doing a season of, depending on if they can get everyone together.
Well,
they got Jeffrey Tambor off.
Yeah.
And now they're not going to have her. Would it even make sense to do anything?
Netflix apparently has already canceled the show, so they're not doing a 6th season.
So it's officially canceled. So whatever's out there is out there.
So maybe a movie will pop up, but again, you're missing already 2 cast members as it is. I mean, okay, maybe you can bring back Jeffrey Tambor. It depends on how much time has gone and how much you feel you want to do with that. I would imagine the rest of the cast would be down for it, except maybe Michael Cera, because he kind of came kicking and screaming on seasons 4 and 5.
Right.
Yeah.
What if they did like a sort of Arrested Development, transparent, blending, and he comes back as his wife, just like all dressed up like her, to replace her. That way, he's still on the run in this disguise.
So you're basically doing what they call a Tommy Westfall universe, if you know the reference.
No. Explain.
Tommy Westfall was a character at the end of, remember the show in the 80s, I think early 90s, St. Elsewhere?
Vaguely remember it. It was a
Basically-
cop procedural, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was actually a hospital procedural.
A
Yeah.
hospital procedural. Sorry.
But a lot of people got their start from the show. The show was well received, but it turned out it was all in the imagination of this one little kid named Tommy Westfall. And it spawned, if you look up the Tommy Westfall universe, the way things are all interconnected, it ties everything from like Arrested Development to Battlestar Galactica to Star Trek to Star Wars to everything. Hill Street Blues, Blue Bloods, Law and Order, Grey's Anatomy. It all is in one gigantic, monstrous, colossal, humongous universe. And there's flow charts that are dedicated to it. Let me see if I can find it.
So basically, you're saying that before the MCU and before Pixar and all that, there was this television universe that apparently all was in the mind of this kid?
Yes.
That
Wow.
blows my mind.
I would have never guessed that.
Let's see
It's
if
like
I can
I
find
know there were some shows where they go ahead and they end the television show, and the series finale was like, "Oh, I had the craziest dream."
it. Oh, yeah. Well,
I think
the
what was it?
Newhart
Bob
did
Newhart did that most famously. But
All right. Let me
to
see.
think
if-
that there's so many different shows that people have connected. This seems like something that Charlie would come up on Always Sunny. Like he'd
Oh,
have
yeah.
all the strings attached, and he'd be like, it would be confounding him.
I'm trying to find an image that's actually good enough for screen on this. But, oh my God, yes. Very, very much so.
That thing is huge.
You see it? Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I mean, yeah, like you said, I can't really see detail, but yeah, that thing is huge.
Yeah, and like I said, all of these things tie themselves together. And it's
Hold on.
and it all
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see it. Yeah, you see how these things. And what happens is if you go to like Reddit, for example, and look at Tommy Westfall, there's actual like breakdowns of why they connect. So certain things like in Star Trek reference, yeah, we're gonna have to zoom that puppy out of that. I'm not even sure if it's gonna work.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but all of these shows are interconnected, hundreds to thousands of shows.
Well, who is this Tommy Westfall person, though? That's
He was
the
this,
thing.
like I said, he was this little kid on St. Elsewhere.
Okay.
But like, was he played by anyone famous? Like, was this someone's claim to fame?
No, I don't
or
think
something?
it's just like their series finale there.
I got to find out who Tommy Westfall is.
Yeah,
all right,
me
so
too.
basically, all right. Yeah, the TARDIS is a figment of Doctor Who. Donald Westfall, one of the other doctors, visited Sam Malone's bar in Cheers, which introduced Frasier, which the character John Larroquette Show once called into Frasier, so that ties with John Larroquette Show. John Larroquette once mentioned Yo-Yo-Dine Industries, which, if you know your geek reference, Yo-Yo-Dine is the company from Buckaroo Banzai.
Is he related to? Is he related to
Yes.
Kevin Bacon somehow?
Well, yeah. In this case, the manufacturing firm was Wolfram and Hart, which they had another client, Wayland Yutani, which also works for Alien and also turns out for Firefly as well as Red Dwarf, which also depicted in one episode the TARDIS itself. So we have just connected now. Cheers to Doctor Who through Tommy Westfall.
Wow, that's wild.
And apparently,
yeah.
Tommy Westfall was played by an actor named Chad Allen.
Yeah, I think it's a kid. It's okay, Eduardo. You can close that out. It's not
So,
working,
and he's been working ever since. I think up to 2011.
and I think he might have been the kid of one of the writers or something.
Hmm.
He was like some autistic kid, I think, in the show. I don't remember much about it, but like I said, if you look up and research the Tommy Westfall universe, it will blow your mind how much time you spend just niche deep diving. And like I said, we just connected Cheers, which, by the way, also is connected to Seinfeld,
Right.
and and connected that to Doctor Who, which Doctor Who has a connection to Star Trek. But yeah,
That's
Oh,
wild.
I haven't had enough drugs to go down this rabbit hole.
there is not enough drugs to go down that rabbit hole. I'm sorry, I've tried.
No,
it
you
hurts
can't tell people about this. You can't, because now we live in a universe where streaming makes everything accessible. There are people that will probably go ahead, that probably already have, if they haven't already. There are people that will go ahead and they will stream all these shows, and they will make all the connections. They will watch the whole universe. They have the time.
People already have, dude. Like I said, it's on Reddit.
Oh my
And the breakdown of just and how these things tie together. That was, like I said, what I gave you was just one example. And
give me a smaller universe. All right, my mind can only take so many
okay, so we'll go to
influences.
something. We'll go to something smaller in this particular case. You wanted to talk the new Scream trailer, so let's go that
Okay,
way.
yes. That only has like a few movies and a TV series. Thank God. All right.
And Jane Silent Bob.
But yeah, so the new trailer for Scream, which is essentially Scream 5, but there's just calling it
Mm.
Scream because that's not confusing enough. The first trailer for that has come out, and that's going to be coming out this January, which I think actually might not be such a bad idea. A lot of people have said that January has always been like a no man's land when it comes to movies. Like, if you need something to dump, you do it there. But now it's also kind of become the place where it's like there's always like one good movie throughout the month, and just
Hmm.
everything focuses on that. And I think Scream could be that movie because the trailer looks really good.
Yeah.
Like,
Now, is that going to go directly to theaters, or is that going to go to like HBO Max or one of them too?
from what I know, it's only getting theater direct. I don't think it's got any kind of like a streaming plan set yet.
Well, I mean,
Now that could always change in the coming months, but it would be nice to really just kick off the new year with something that's direct to theaters, something with a nice lineage to it, something with the same actors still alive coming back into it. Much in the same vein as Halloween with Laurie Strode.
I
You
don't
got
know.
Sydney, you got Gail, you got Dewey, which
It's it's gonna be tough, man. I'm thinking that with the way things are with people. I mean, I don't really see people really going to the cinema for at least another 6 months. So that's way beyond January. I could be wrong, but personally, I don't really feel comfortable going into a huge cinema and being sitting next to somebody that might cough all over me or something. But you know,
which is understandable. But
Well,
I
we
also
see it.
feel like if you're going to have something in theaters, there are pretty much a few movies that are required viewing for theater, and a horror movie is required viewing, especially when it's one of these ones which excels with slaughter and jump scares, and pretty much has set a pace for a whole generation to like subvert the tropes that we've gotten in horror movies past.
you okay, Scott?
I am an unbridled candy ass. Cannot do horror. I can die in horror. I have died in many horror films. Usually as that guy at the end of the second act who's like, "We're gonna make it. We're gonna be okay." And then the head gets chopped off. But that's the limit of what I can do. I can't watch horror. I can't handle it. I am so unbridledly squeamish when it comes to that. Here's what I'll say: The Ring I loved because I was not scared a lick for The Ring. I thought that was just a genius how everything pieced together on that movie. Final Destination, I'm not gonna lie, as an adult, I had my eyes closed for some of it. I don't do well with entrapment movies. It's my thing.
Is it the entrapment of it all, or is it the
For me
gore?
personally, yeah.
Does it startle you? See, now that scene that we did, the dream scene for the Mariah film that Scott Goldberg and I did,
Oh, yeah.
we deliberately made it to where there was that jarring sort of like, jumps
Mhm.
out at you kind of thing with the screaming sound and everything. Some people, the response on that was pretty huge. I mean, people like that. I would assume that like if you're watching a regular horror film, that stuff like that would be sort of get people going.
Horror is very niche. I think it's either something you like and you're into or you're not. And like I said, I don't mind it, but I'm a candy ass. I'm an unbridled coward when it comes to horror movies.
All right, so party at Scott's house, movie
Exactly.
marathon.
Yeah, it's
Everyone
basically I
bring
got
your
the TV
favorite.
down here. We can always do it. Yeah, you guys, I don't think neither one of you guys have been to the house either.
Uh,
JT's been, but you haven't been.
I've been to the house. The same place that you had the birthday party at.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, you were
Okay.
there. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Ryan. I didn't know you then.
I wasn't
Oh,
inside the
that's cool.
house. I didn't get to see your little man cave.
Listen,
but
I'll make it up to you. I'm sorry. Listen, it's one of my. There are certain regrets that I have in my life, and actually, ironically, that's one of them. So,
oh no, man, that's cool. I get it.
but we talked about doing another one, probably not this year.
Yeah.
No, we're not. I mean, next year for my birthday. Next year for my birthday, we're talking about going back to London, actually. So
Nice. Good for
might
you,
be able
pal.
to tie into some other stuff, possibly hit Ireland as well. Do the tourist thing again. Be those stupid Americans going to Europe.
I want to go
Okay, so
back.
we know
Big
Scott didn't watch the trailer. That's fine. Robert, did you happen to see it?
The trailer for what are we talking about?
Scream. Scream.
No, I have not. I'm sorry. I wanted to, but I've been pretty busy.
Well, if you're not squeamish like Scott is,
Mhm.
I highly suggest you check it out.
Okay, I will.
Because I'm not saying like all horror revivals have been good, but I mean this is October. All right,
Right.
if we're gonna be talking horror, this is the time to do it.
Of
And
course.
I think it's perfect that they went ahead, put out the poster, put out the trailer, lined it up for the next couple of months.
Right.
I like how good the cast looks, the younger plus the
Mhm.
older. They've got a great fresh-faced amount of people for the slaughter, the cannon fodder, as it were.
Sure.
And I will make a bold prediction. One of the three main actors will die in this movie.
You're probably right.
Yeah,
And I don't think
I almost feel like it has to be done.
I
I'm
don't,
not
and I
going to say
don't.
who because I don't want to jinx myself.
I
But
mean, I
one
have
of
a
them's gotta
suspicion.
go at this
I have a suspicion of who I believe it will not be.
Who?
I don't believe it'll be Nev Campbell. Sydney, I don't think will be the one.
I don't know.
Because I think she's too big for the franchise. Scream is one of those weird things that you can come out with a new Scream movie, and I think it'll do well because it has enough of a reverence to it, to a lesser version of, shall we say, Ghostbusters, where basically it has a beloved feel to it. That when you have a new one, people are not going like, "Oh my god, another one," but "Oh my god, another one."
Well,
And
and if you space them out too, I mean that's the thing.
oh yeah, it's been years since the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that one had like Emma Roberts as a kid, so
Yeah.
I mean, do your timeline there.
And the third one, basically, like I said, had Jay and Silent Bob in it.
Oh God, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
On the set of Stab, I believe the name was that movie.
yeah.
But basically, but can you give me just as who was the principal in the first one? Remember?
Wasn't it Robert Englund?
No, Henry Winkler.
Oh, Henry Winkler's right,
Dude. I find it so odd that Fonzie was in the first Scream movie.
Oh
Of course, he gets killed, almost halfway through, but
no, because I thought England never made an appearance in this franchise because it's a Wes Craven franchise.
he might have. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm 90% sure that he was the principal.
Oh, for some reason I thought maybe Henry Winkler was like the principal in Scary Movie.
Arthur Himbry, played by Henry Winkler. Arthur Himbry.
Well, that's gonna be research for another day for me. But oh yeah, and
Well,
the
Robert
fact that
Englund
Wes
is Robert
Craven's
Englund.
dead
To his
now.
credit, is actually in Stranger Things season 4.
Oh
I'm
yes.
curious about that too. But all right, so we got about 10 or so minutes left. Figure we had a little bit of time to do a couple of what if weeklies just to get your idea and some thought on this. So if we can pull that picture up, I've got like 5 or 6. There's no way I'm going to get to them all, but I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of iconic roles that were almost played by iconic actors, and in this case, probably a little bit differently. What we've got coming up right now, if we can pull that up, is, I don't know if you guys knew about this, but you knew Stuart Townsend was the original actor who played Aragorn and had to drop out. Were you aware that in Lord of the Rings, the original Aragorn, and turned it down, was Nicolas Cage?
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
No.
So
no.
in our example this time of What If Weekly, what if the iconic role of Aragorn, played fantastically by Viggo Mortensen, was in fact played by the guy who played Ghost Rider?
I'm gonna say, as far as Nicolas Cage playing any sort of like fantasy type character, I don't know. I couldn't really see it myself, only because he's crazy enough in the real world. That's just my opinion.
That might work. Okay, that does work. That works better. Yeah, I mean,
No.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. This was pre Ghost Rider. This was like 5 years after Con Air, before he did like Matchstick Men. So 2001 era. But part of the problem was he couldn't commit to the shooting schedule, which is probably going to be about 3 years of his life, over in New Zealand.
Right?
So he turned it down and ultimately went to Viggo Mortensen. I'm trying to say it could work. Trying, I think, is the operative word here, because it's Nick Cage. I mean, he always has this strange quirk about him that I don't think Aragorn would have.
Right.
Well, just seeing him in recent movies with like a goatee and long hair, just the look alone doesn't really say, "Oh, young future king of man." You know, It looks more like, oh, he's the one we had locked up in the cellar.
Yeah. So you're saying
Right.
he's more like Wormtongue then? He would have made a good Wormtongue.
He would have made a pretty good Radagast in The Hobbits, as opposed to Sylvester
Radagast was
McCoy.
not in The Hobbit. I have a major problem with that. I mean, listen, I like Sylvester McCoy, but I have a major issue with that.
Right, but if you're looking for someone who's wants to play a crazy character,
Yeah.
Nick Cage fits the bill. Sure.
I've struggled so much with those Hobbit movies because of the fact that they've added so much more filler in there.
Well, yeah, they needed to in order to get 3 more movies.
Yeah, but see, the point is they didn't have to do 3 movies. 2, I can maybe you can work with it.
Oh,
But
yes,
they turn.
did.
Yeah, oh, I know. I know. 3 books, 3
Cash
movies.
cow.
Fine. Harry Potter, 7 movies. I'm sorry, 7 books, 8 movies. The last one being a 2-parter. Fine, that works. 1 book, smaller than the other ones, that you turn into a full 3-part, 3-movie epic, where you figure out a way to shoehorn in Legolas into it, and everything else. I'm just like, no. Yeah, that's my problem with a lot
Oh,
of things.
you think that's bad? Wait until Amazon's Lord of the Rings TV series comes on and it's getting stretched out.
Yeah, okay. We have Amazon's Lord of the Rings, which is apparently going to include a great deal of sex and violence because they really want to Game of Thrones this. By their own definition, they want to Game of Thrones that.
Ooh, Hobbit sex, no.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, thanks.
But I have a problem with something else that's being rebooted way more. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because they want to add sex, gore, and violence into Avatar. Netflix, in this case, wants to add that. This is a Nickelodeon series that won an Emmy. And they're like, we want to Witcher this thing.
Are they the same people that decided to 20-something up the Powerpuff Girls?
Well, the original creators of Avatar: Last Airbender walked away from the project because they're like, this is not what we tried. This is not what we wanted to do.
Mhm.
And they're like, you go do what you want to do. Bye.
Yeah, if anything, if you wanted more mature content, I think Legend of Korra was pretty much the blueprint for that. If you wanted to go ahead and add
Korra could have
heavier
worked.
themes.
I mean, also in this case, the Legend of Korra. I mean, Korra was 17. The oldest of the quartet in Avatar was 16.
Right.
That was the oldest. So,
But again, if you're talking about networks that look at things like Gossip Girl and reboots of 90210 as like the
And reboots of Gossip
namesake,
Girl, they
what you
did
do
that.
with like teenage characters,
yeah.
then yeah, of course it's going to be pardon my French, bastardized to a certain extent.
Well, they want to adult it. Make it
Yeah, but
adult.
like I said, it misses the spirit. I mean, like I said, Ryan, I think I told you this. I started watching the reboot of She-Ra on Netflix. That maintains the spirit of the original. Different style, different approach, different plot. Fine.
A little more lighthearted, I'd say.
A little
but
more
yeah.
lighthearted, but also, like I said, there's enough to it that it makes me realize that it has enough to work for kids. I mean, obviously, I am so not the demographic for She-Ra, but I find myself intrigued enough by the story arc that I'll pop in an episode once a week, kind of thing.
Scott, you too can be a princess of power. Don't think you can't.
You know what? I'll put on my big girl panties.
I was going to say, no sex and violence in this. I mean,
Nope.
obviously, it's geared toward-
No, I do have
So there is a
speculation.
budding romance that maybe more
I
conservative parents would be against, but
I have a
outside-
suspicion. I'll talk to you about it after the show, but I'm starting to wonder on certain things. Yes, about possibly a main character and her former best friend, kind of a thing.
Ooh.
But that's where that's my own theory, just on what I'm watching there. But
Hello.
all right. Oh my! All right, we got one more. Dude, I gotta say, I'm impressed by it. But I've been spending so much time like watching One Piece that I'm kind of like, all right, let me just focus on that. So we got time for one more What If Weekly, which I just sent Eduardo the picture, and being the space case that I am, I literally forgot the image I sent him. So it's going to be a discovery for me as well as you guys as soon as it pops up.
Okay.
In the meantime, you can always find this show, like I said, on YouTube as well, on Spanglish World Network, and find it on Instagram and also on Facebook at Tales from the Film Set, as well as Film Set Tales on Twitter. I don't know if we can pull up that other image there. I think I remember which one I did. Which one did I
I'm
do?
seeing it now. I'm curious where you're going to go with this.
Oh, yes, that's what it is. Okay. Yes. Halle Berry was actually the original choice to play the Sandra Bullock character. And
I can see that. I could see that.
Yeah,
Personally.
that could work actually.
Yeah.
I think it could work really well. I think it would have worked really well, but she ended up turning the role down. And then ultimately, about 20 some odd years later, they would end up working together. 25 years later, working together on John Wick 3.
Right.
But I think, in this case, Sandra Bullock had just pretty much come off Demolition Man. This one was the one that really, I think, launched her into stardom big time. But Halle Berry, I think, would have worked really well in this particular role.
Well, I guess the question would be, what was Halle Berry working on at that time?
I don't know. Let's say let's go to People Mag.
Because I mean, I know she had like her things happening in the '90s where she started up as pretty much like the go-to appeal in a movie. The girl that you looked at, but I mean, she really started taking off in like the early 2000s. I'd say.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was she doing at the time that movie came out?
Well, she did turn the role down and admitted that it was a terrible idea, that she greatly rejected it or resented herself for it. Her exact quote was, "I stupidly said no. But in my defense, when I read the script, the bus didn't leave the parking lot. I was like, no. Then I see this movie and I'm like, ugh." So she turned it down, but it doesn't actually say here why she did at the time. I think
what year did Speed come out?
94.
94. Okay.
Yeah.
So at that time, she was the year prior. She was in the program.
Okay.
In 1994, she was in the Flintstones as Miss Sharon Stone.
Yes, which I thought was actually a really clever idea.
And like a year after that, she was in Losing Isaiah. So up and before that, she was doing things like CB4, Boomerang, Last Boy Scout, Strictly Business, Jungle Fever. More, I guess you'd say, African-American centric films, as opposed to being a crossover, star. That's some people would probably call
mainstream. Yeah. I mean, I guess, ironically, it wasn't until she did X-Men that she sort of became a lot more mainstream.
Yeah, but then that really brings up the question. Imagine how much more prolific she would have been if she was, the black female, counterpart to Keanu Reeves of Speed. That almost sounds more groundbreaking than the movie itself.
Would people have been ready for that at the time? We only had 2 minutes left, but in 94, I'm not sure if they would have been as ready for it.
Probably not, but I can see it now. I mean, if they wanted to make it, they wanted to remake it, go ahead.
Oh, big time. There you go. Yeah, we'll do a reboot. Let's see.
As long as she wasn't in Speed 2 Cruise Control, then perfect. Yes, fine. Don't put her in the sequel.
I believe Sandra Bullock
like
referred to that as the underwater edition. But yeah, well, see, the next one you could have Zendaya. That would work. As a Halle Berry, similar, I think, sort of setup. And then who would work as well? I don't know, Tom Holland. Why not? Let's put the two of them together again. So
right. Like they don't share enough screen time.
Exactly. So we got to wrap this up. Like I said, the show is available on Zingo TV. Anywhere that basically you have the ability to have an internet connection and also some kind of a smart TV as well. Zingo TV is also available online too. You can watch it that way too. For Tales from the Film Set, I'm Scott Schertzen. Over here is Mr. Robert Leckington, and down there is Mr. Ryan O'Regan. Appreciate you guys. Tune in next week. I'm going to actually come up with some new stuff that I'm going to be talking about. I completely forgot what it was, but I figure basically we'll do a few What If Weeklies, maybe preview a couple horror films. Maybe I'll get your top 5 biggest horror films. I think that's what we're going to do for next week. Have a good night.
Okay.
Yes. Stay awesome.